In 1977, when Star Wars: A New Hope first came out, my first lightsaber probably looked something like this. So now that I have one of these, it's time for an upgrade. About 10 days before I started making this video, my son got me this Prusa 3D Mini printer. I'd never used one before, so I spent the first evening trying to figure out how to set it up and get it working, and the next couple days doing some test prints. I also had to become familiar with Prusa Slicer. The 3D modeling was done in SketchUp Go, which I was somewhat familiar with from having designed furniture and other projects, but I hadn't tried using it for 3D printing yet. Once I felt that I knew enough to get started, I began doing sketches. I wanted something that looked older, like an early lightsaber that still had a lot of elements that looked like they belonged on a sword. Rather than print the lightsaber as one or two large pieces, I opted to print it as smaller individual pieces. I felt this gave me the opportunity to try different settings out in the slicer and troubleshoot as I went. So I just wanted to interject here that if any of this leaves you with the impression that I know what I'm doing, I don't. As each piece finished printing, I would remove it from the bed, clean up any excess plastic, such as the brims that I had been using to ensure good adhesion to the bed, check the pieces out one more time to make sure I was happy, and then I would dry fit them to the PVC that I would ultimately mount them to. Once all the pieces had finished printing, it was time to start thinking about how I was going to finish and weather them. The printer had been running almost continuously for the last 3 days, so I was really excited to finally get to the finishing stage and start breathing some life into the piece. After everything was painted and, well, almost dry, because I don't have enough patience to wait for things to dry completely, I began assembling the lightsaber. I used a combination of Gorilla Glue and CA glue to put all the pieces together. Now I was ready to start doing some weathering. I had seen some really cool examples online of people doing heat staining around the emitter. I used some clear epoxy resin and dye to try to simulate that effect. Later I came back with some acrylic paint and added a little bit more color. Using more acrylic paint, I mixed up several variations of a muddy brown and grays and blues. I painted them liberally all over the lightsaber and then wiped them back off with a rag, leaving the high spots clean and the low spots full of what would hopefully look like dirt and grime that had collected over the years. From time to time, I would take a Dremel with a brass brush, the same one I brush my teeth with, just kidding, and go back over the high spots again. The last thing I did was take Sharpies in metallic colors and go over the high spots very carefully just to make them shine and pop a little bit more. All right, so for a first go at this, I'm actually pretty happy. There are some things, however, that I did wrong, one of which was wearing these pajamas on YouTube, which depict a drunken reindeer drinking from a beer keg. A couple other things I could have done better. When I was modeling these pieces in SketchUp Go, it draws circles as polygons and it defaults to 24 sides. So the result is that you don't get a truly round looking piece. I need to bump the number of sides up next time I do this. Another thing was in the slicer, I didn't change the default layer height, and so you end up with sort of rougher looking pieces. I could have done that earlier on and I would have gotten a better result. The one thing that I did, I experimented for the hand grip with what they call a fuzzy setting, and it's actually pretty cool. It looks sort of like a rubberized hand grip. I was really happy with the way that came out. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to go rethink my life choices, and I will see you next time. Let's go inside. Come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. Out of the rain.